Hi, we're back again. I feel like I keep saying that like a broken record, but
one more time.
Yeah, well, three more times.
Three more times.
Three more times,
yeah.
But that's okay. But before we start the next session, we just want to take a moment to quickly shout out our amazing DivorceCon sponsors. And the last 2 days would truly not have been possible without them. Yeah. So our first sponsor is SoberLink, who is a breathalyzer system that monitors alcohol usage of your co-parent if you have a concern. So they're incredible. So you can find them at SoberLink. They have an Instagram account and they're very accessible. Our second sponsor is Offit Kerman. They're a law office that family law is a big part of what they do, and they have an incredible network of attorneys that can help you. And the cool thing about Offit Kerman is that not only do they have amazing resources, but they're also national. So they're not just in Baltimore; they're all over the country. And our third sponsor is Our Family Wizard, which is a co-parenting app which, even if you don't have high conflict co-parenting, which we're going to talk about with our next guest, it's also really clutch for just any type of co-parenting, because trying to sync up schedules and extracurriculars and vacations and all the things can be exhausting. And Our Family Wizard has managed to make it all accessible and easy in one place. And we just, love that resource. We love resources like that. So thank you to those three sponsors. And we are excited to welcome our next guest.
Yes.
Thank you for coming back.
Yes, thank you for joining. I know. Drop a heart if you've been at a DivorceCon session before today. Chantel.
Hi. How are you?
Good. I love your glasses, first off.
Oh, thank you.
They're amazing.
They're really dorky. I'm like, I don't care. I really
No, they look amazing. They look great. Like I always admire Bethany's glasses, like her, how she rocks them.
And totally
I
rocks
just
them.
appreciate
And they
it.
match her lippy. So that's amazing.
I know, right?
Thank you, Red Lip today.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, you get to a certain point, you just need to see,
You just need to see.
Yeah.
I'm in front of the screen all day. I need, something to block all the blue light that I'm exposed to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and post-divorce is the time to be who we need to be, right?
Exactly.
Because we've been being someone we have not really necessarily wanted to be.
Oh, yeah. I can't tell you how much pink
Literally.
I have in my house now. I have so much pink in my house, and I'm the only adult in my house, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's the best part. We were just talking to our last guest, Danielle, about like just making your space your own. Actually, our other guest before that too. Like it's such an important part of it is space and mentally you. So
absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us for DivorceCon, our very first DivorceCon.
It's so exciting.
Yeah. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate you as a colleague in this space.
Yes.
You provide so many great resources and, really specialize in an area that is just really so important, and as a certified high conflict divorce and parenting coach, helping, people, especially navigate the chaos of co-parenting with a narcissist in particular, right? And we like to cover the range of co-parenting experiences. Like I have a very amicable one, and I talk about that.
Yeah.
But they're not all like that.
That is the ideal.
Yes.
You can be amicable. It doesn't matter how you broke up, but you both come together because you love your children. That is the ideal. Right. That's what co-parenting, like traditional co-parenting, is based on, right? Is that you don't have to like each other. Obviously, things broke down, which is why a marriage broke down, but you love your children. That's your commonality always, right? And I think it's a lot of grief for protective parents who don't have that. They don't have the ability to come together. They would gladly do so, but they're always counter-parented.
Yeah, absolutely. Or parallel parenting or whatever the situation may be. It creates a lot of barriers and a lot of challenges.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we appreciate you in this space, like bringing clarity, for folks, because there's a lot of confusion and chaos in that, and to do it with confidence, right? Mm-hmm. Because we've never been here before, probably,
right?
And, and having to navigate this and especially be project an air of confidence with your children, because we want them to be safe and healthy, is a lot. So, we're excited that you're here. And, we're just going to ask you some questions in our lightning format. And we know that you're going to provide great answers. We just thank you again for joining us for our first Divorce Con.
So excited. Bring it.
This first question is, how can someone tell, right? Although they may already know because they were married to them, but how can someone tell that they're going to be dealing with a high conflict or counter parenting experience, as opposed to like a more normal, healthy, amicable co-parenting experience? Like, what are the signs that people should be paying attention to?
So normal co-parenting has problems, right? There's a reason why this marriage broke down. Sometimes it's communication. So you might have issues. There might be problems, but it's typically you might have a problem, they might have a problem. But at the end of the day, you're able to get to a solution for your children because you both understand that your children come before your egos. When you're dealing with an active counterparent, a coercive controller, an abuser, a narcissist, there is never any resolution. And there's always a pattern of behavior. So it's not just a one-up, they've had a bad day, or they broke up with their new girlfriend or boyfriend, or they're stressed at work. There's a pattern. And it's typically take. So they'll ask for changes and modifications. They'll make demands. And if you don't acquiesce and submit to their every demand, schedule, change, request, you are going to face a backlash. And it's a constant pattern. So no matter how much you give, no matter how much you line your text and your communication with lovely words like, thank you so much, I really appreciate what you're doing, it always ends up that you leave every conversation feeling confused, feeling like there was zero resolution, feeling like you were to blame for something despite you giving. So you have to look at the pattern, which is why I really like to tell my clients, my followers, my listeners to create a journal and just journal, because you can start to see patterns when you write things down. And it's not a one-off. And these people, you said the 2 C's, chaos and confusion. These people thrive off of creating chaos and confusion. An exhausted person is so much easier to manipulate.
Oh, such a good point. And I feel like they're also masters at doing that, right?
Well,
like that's what they specialize
have had their
in.
entire lives to adapt this way, right? So this is not like a personality trait that they, just discovered in the last 2 or 3 months. They've maladapted in this way to manipulate people to get them to do what they want. And they're very crafty. And we oftentimes think that these types of people are very loud and obvious, but there's so many covert abusers out there who are very, very not obvious. They're very subtle. And they might even compliment you, but the compliment comes with a jab. And it's always everything they do, there's a reason for it. It's a it's a tactic to get you to do something. So when they're nice, they expect something in return. If you don't do what they want, they tantrum. But unlike a toddler who tantrums, they're simply not cute, and there's no reasoning.
No, not cute at all. It's
not
very
cute at
painful.
all. You're not like, oh, that's little Johnny having a tantrum. You're like, oh my gosh, you're a 55-year-old woman, and I told you no, and you are going off on me.
Yes. And I think the tricky thing too with them, like you were saying before, is there's always they know you very well, right? Because they were married to you or they were with you for a very long period of time. So they know the buttons to push and they know the threads of truth to like weave through their like word salad or their like manipulation tactics. And I think that
and they know your pain point.
Yes, your pain points. So I think that your advice on having a journal and just like, as objectively as you can, writing down what happened, it's very eye-opening to see like what the patterns are. And and all of like, I'm not going to say all of them, but like so many of them are so textbook. Like they're so predictable in like what they do.
Playbook. It's like they all go to school and they all read the same books on how to manipulate 101 through to 501.
Literally, like different flavors, but same playbook.
They have like little tweaks to make them unique and individual, but it's the same pattern. They all follow the same maladaptive patterns of behavior to get people to do what they want, right? They have an end goal. This is what I want. And many of them are ruthless. They're relentless. And this is like the people that I work with oftentimes come to me just feeling hopeless and helpless because they don't see an end to this. It's so chaotic, which is why I always say, do not speak to these people. You are not friends. This is like a business partner. You're in the business of raising your children. You're the only reasonable one. They will always be irrational and unreasonable, and keep everything to writing. And you don't have to respond just because they give you like this sermon. You just respond to what needs to be responded to.
I was going to say, I'm very aware of those sermons. Girl, I just thumbs up.
Hillary gets a sermon a week, and I so badly want to respond as her bestie. It would not be productive or anything that you would suggest, but
we respond internally. You send your bestie what you would like to send. You write it out in your journal. You write an email, but please never ever address it accidentally to them,
because it's never going to go in your favor.
I know.
Yeah. Like even when you know what's going to happen, like if you try to engage with them, that's what they want. And they're never going to even if you're presenting facts, it doesn't matter. The rules, the traditional rules of the game. Yes. You can have they're out the window.
Conversations where you've both agreed on the same thing and they will deny it.
Oh,
they will deny, lie, twist. They will darvo, they'll project, deflect, they'll call you every name in the book. They'll say you're a terrible human being. How dare you? And you're just like, all I asked was, are you going to pick up little Betty at 3?
How dare you? It didn't have to turn into this.
Me? Right.
And as a person that is authentic and is truthful, like this can feel like, well, what am I missing? What did I miss? You kind of start to question your own narrative because of how well they do this.
And gaslighting. If you were in a relationship with this person, I can pretty much guarantee without knowing you that you were gaslit. So you already came out of this relationship doubting yourself, doubting your motive. And when you're told enough times that you're a certain thing, you're manipulative, you're obstructive, you're controlling, you're too emotional, you can't take a joke, you have to believe, and you internalize that actual narrative. And so when they send you, or if you ask a simple question and you get this monologue, this sermon, this soliloquy back, you're just like, oh my gosh, was I part of this problem? And if you're asking that question, I can guarantee you are not part of that problem. You're simply responding to the chaos and the confusion that they create.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Chantal, I so needed you 4 years ago, when I was just trying to figure all of this out. It is so, like you said, it's so textbook, and they do have their own unique flavors, but at the end of the day, it's the same type of tactics and wrapped in an individual package. And that's why it's so tricky to see and to recognize. So
and you can't see the forest for the trees when you're in it, and
you really can't.
You've been conditioned to respond in a certain way, because if you didn't respond and engage, there was always a consequence, be it the silent treatment or stonewalling you or a rage or just continued text back and forth or conversations until you gave in and said, absolutely, let's just do it your way.
So it's easier.
Part of your your rebirth and your healing is learning to recondition yourself to not always respond, and to never react, give them as little as humanly possible. In and out, there's no emotions, there's no feelings, there's no hi, thank you, I'll be there at 3, Chantal.
Right. Very business. Yep.
Yeah.
Now that's a great segue to our next question. So when things are constantly feeling chaotic, what's one thing that you recommend that a co-parent can do to lower stress and stop feeling so reactive? What kind of methods do you suggest?
Absolutely. So here's the thing. If you're dealing with the type of people that I deal with, they are never going to change. There's no amount of communication, therapy, discourse that's going to have them see your way and truly put the children's needs before their own. This type of personality always puts their own needs before anybody else's, because it's always about power and control, and they want to control your time. So your job is to press pause. So they're always going to try to create chaos. They're always going to try to insert themselves into your life. If you moved on, if you have boundaries, if you found somebody new, if you simply say no to them and stop acquiescing to their every changing request, they are not going to be happy about this. So you just press pause. You create a framework about when you're going to respond to them. I love co-parenting apps, even though when I'm talking about this, I always use co-parenting in quotes, because you can't co-parent with this type of person. You would gladly co-parent they will always counter parent. So you're going to meet somewhere in the middle with parallel parenting. They have their own rules in their home and they suck. You have your rules in your home. You're just like two children in the sandbox and you're together, but not interacting, right? There's no interaction. You're not talking about, oh, I feed little Johnny, organic nuggets. You don't care about that kind of stuff. You're just happy that your children come back and you help them re-regulate. So you press pause. You learn to not be reactive. They like to push the buttons that they've implanted in you in your relationship. These people are predators. They watch you. They listen to what you're saying, not because they care about you, but because they want to use it against you at some point. So you learn to be just as boring as humanly possible, never give them anything. Like we said earlier, if you have something that you would like to say, send it to your bestie, send it to your coach, your therapist. Do not press send.
ChatGPT.
Right? Whatever you need. And my golden rule always with communication, because they always use communication as a way to weaponize and control you. Your time with your children, you yourself, is would you feel comfortable reading this response in front of a judge? If your answer is no, do not press send, do not press go, do not collect $200. Like you are going to lock that stuff down. And they've conditioned you to be really anxious. You hear the ping of a text coming in or the phone and you see their name and like your body shuts down, like your shoulders go up to your ears, your jaw clench, your body starts to shake, your stomach drops, your palms sweat. So you're going to walk away. Unless it's an emergency, your child is going to the ER, you don't need to even read their text, their email, and certainly don't talk to them on the phone. You're not friends. Anytime you talk to them orally, those words will be twisted and used against you. There'll be no documentation for you to actually go back and say, that's actually not what I said. And that's not what we agreed upon. And if you're dealing with this type of person, you want to create a documentation trail, not only for yourself so that you can prove to yourself that you are not the crazy one, you're not the high maintenance, you're not part of the problem. They create the problem and you're merely responding to their problems and their issues that they're creating. But you're also potentially creating a legal trail so that you can give to your lawyer and say, look, we have this in our court order or parenting plan, but they simply never comply. And here is my documentation that I've been creating. You think you're going to remember all these incidents, but trust me, you will not. Even if they're big ones, you won't know the details. Like, when did it happen? Oh, I think it happened around Christmas, but was it before Christmas or after Christmas? If you're documenting, it needs to be
because there's so many of them.
there's every time you talk to them, right? So you want to be specific with your documentation: who, what, when, where, why. And that's why you journal. That's why you write this stuff down. That's why you keep everything to writing. If it's a court-appointed app, awesome. If you can't get that because these people are difficult by nature, then you use text or email.
So wonderful advice. Thank you, Chantal, for, for breaking it down, right? Like you're basically like spitting facts. Like that's how I would describe it. Like you're just spitting the facts of the matter, which, I know I always would sort of default to, well, I want to believe the best of this person. Just like from the beginning, I wanted to believe the best of this, but like the reality is, no, you have to deal in the reality of their behavior, your direct experience with who you know them to be. And that's hard to do when like everything's falling apart and you've spent 5, 10, 15, 30 years trying to believe the best of them. So as we head into
we are kind, hopeful people by nature, right? So we give people the benefit of the doubt, which is typically why we stayed in these relationships for much longer than was healthy for us. Because they also just give you enough. They give you like a small little breadcrumb here and there. And like,
they're
that's
so
the person
good at
that I
that.
fell in love with, right? They're strategic. Everything they do has an intention. There's a reason why. They're not just being kind to you today because they felt like being kind to you today. They're like, well, I saw that, John was not, he was no longer falling for my stuff. So I'm going to reel him back in with this little tiny, not enough to actually satiate you, but enough to feel like, oh, I was like famished and now I have like a little bit of breadcrumbs in my belly.
Right. Well, as we head into the close, we have a couple questions from our viewers, which is great. So I'm going to ask you both of them. The first one is, what are things to prepare for in general, practically and emotionally and legally, when prioritizing, when you want to prioritize the best outcome for the children? How do you prepare yourself for that?
Once you leave?
I guess before you leave.
So if you are leaving, Not just like a person who has like a couple of issues, they have like a wounded ego, which they can lick their wounds and heal. If you're dealing with a pathological person, a person who literally, no matter how much you give, it's never enough. They're there's like this empty void, and they will keep, because abuse is always about power and control. So you need to be very strategic in how you leave this relationship. So you need to prepare yourself for what is going to come next. The first and hardest part is actually leaving and creating that boundary. But what comes after is what I refer to as post-separation abuse. The abuse doesn't end just because your relationship does. In fact, it oftentimes amplifies because now you've triggered them. So you need to be strategic in how you communicate with them, how you radically accept that you can't control them. You can't control their parenting, how they show up for your children, but you can control yourself. And that's really where your power lies. You document, you hired the right people from the get-go. I have some people truly, honestly cannot afford stuff. They are living up to their eyeballs in debt. They have no family resources. They don't own a home. They don't own stuff. There's no assets. There's no savings. Those people use free resources. There's so much online. And then there are people who don't want to afford this, but they can. They have savings. They have parents who can support them. They own a couple of houses. And they choose to not afford because they don't want to. They don't understand that being proactive and preventative will actually save you in the long term. And who you hire at the beginning can, in fact, make or break you later on. So many people come to me not having taken that advice because they either didn't know, they didn't want to believe. They were like, well, no, if I just, right? And I don't want to afford the most expensive lawyer, so I'm going to go with the, the bargain basement one. And that one simply doesn't understand this personality type and isn't able to advocate for you. If you can, and you actually have access to the funds, hire a coach before you even leave the relationship. And they will help you strategize on how to get out and stay out and create a life that you love post-separation. And really just focus all your time and energy on yourself, because you are the foundation of this new life. If you have left this type of relationship, you're probably running on fumes and on empty. And you have to put on your own oxygen mask before you can help your children. It feels counterintuitive, especially when you're going through divorce. You're like, well, I just, my children's lives are turned upside down. But they need you to be the best version of yourself. They need you to be responsive and not reactive. And when you're running on empty, it's very easy to be very impatient with them, because you're stressed and you're triggered. Depending on your children, oftentimes they'll come back mimicking your ex, which if you're still in the early, stages of healing, can be very triggering because now you're being abused by proxy through your children. So you really need to invest in yourself. And when you do, things fall into place and you show up as a better person across the board, for yourself, your children, your friends, your family, your work. But everything starts with you. You're the foundation of this new life, and you need to be solid and not shaky.
Yeah. And you before we wrap, you mentioned free resources, and you, Chantel, are a great resource for, just things to look for, different situate different methods for tracking this. So can you share before we leave, can you share how people can find you? And I also want to point out that we pinned in the chat, if you haven't already seen it, it's been in the chat for the duration of this lightning talk, is a free ebook that you offer. And so can you chat a little bit about that before we head out?
So free resources are a great way to start. And it's also a great way to see if the person that you're looking at for expertise is the right fit for you, right? You want to make sure that you hire the person that you think is going to get you to your goal. And there's lots of great people out there, but you want a specific fit for your personality and your unique needs and issues. So for me, you can find me online. I'm Chantel Contorines Coaching. I have a website, chantelcontorinascoaching.com. There are 4 ways that you can get free stuff from me. I post daily free content in both my page and also my stories. I have a weekly podcast that, there's a new episode every Friday. I have this ebook, which is how to talk to your children about abuse without ever talking about their parent. We need to equip our children with the tools to be able to see what they're dealing with as early as humanly possible. We don't want them to be 60 and just realizing that their mom or their dad has been abusing them. We want them to be able to see this clearly early on, obviously not 4 or 5, but as young adults, and be able to create a boundary. This is their parent for life. They don't have a choice. Right. But we can really help them with the tools in their toolbox. And then I have my free weekly newsletter that goes out every Friday as well. These are easy ways for people to get information, especially for those who can't afford to hire people. If you have the right experts with the right free resources, you can actually start to create your own toolbox of tools and strategies to be able to help yourself navigate this.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chantel. This has been a wonderful, lightning talk. And I think that everything that you offer is so needed, especially when you're in this situation. And we're just so appreciative of you. So if you want to follow Chantel, we will include her. We will tag her in the post that this recording will be posted on our grid, and we'll also send it out as well. And we'll tag Chantel. So please give her a follow if you're in this situation, no matter where you are in the divorce journey, because you have resources for every aspect of it. So thank you again, and we will see everybody in just a few moments for our next lightning speaker
about dating after divorce. Like, this is the hot, right, Chantel? Like, when you get finished co-parenting, like, it's like, should I date? Should I not?
Yeah, you get into a groove, a little bit of a groove, even if you have a chaotic co-parent.
It also feels nice to connect with people who actually can fill your bucket, because if you've left this type of relationship, you're running on empty. You don't feel good about yourself, right?
No,
So
you really don't.
Even if you don't, it's not Mr. Right or Mrs. Right. It could be Mr. or Mrs. Right now.
Right.
And you learn to like flirt, and you learn to communicate, and you learn to feel appreciated. So yeah,
look, it could be Mr. or Mrs. tonight, because I was legit celibate. I was married and celibate. Like, Lord, what? Yeah, it was not okay. It was not okay.
No.
But we appreciate you. I know. And we hope you have a good rest of the day. And we'll
thank
see
you
you
so much again. And hopefully this is the first of many collaborations that we do together.
Awesome. Thank you so much, ladies, for creating this space.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Chantel.
Bye, Chantel.
Have a great day.